Hi y'all, it's Aubrey Shaw with Hill Country One Realty, and our latest stats have just come out, and of course I want you to be the first to know about them. So what's going on in our Austin real estate market? Our inventory continues to rise. This is because the new listings that are coming on at a pretty quick rate, but also because the homes that we have on the market are still there. So we're now at about 6.1 months of inventory. This is a 0.9 month increase over this same month in 2024. So we're officially over 6 months of inventory. That is the marker to say we're definitely in a buyer's market because buyers have a lot of choices. Sold home prices, a lot of agents are saying they're pretty flatlined over the last 24 months. Yes, I would agree with that, but to go a little bit further into that, we've had about a 3% decrease over the last 3 years. So that's adding up. And home prices are a little bit lower than they were in 2023. They're a little bit lower than they were in 2024, but very, very, very close. New home sales are still doing fantastic. They can solve the problem for our home buyers, which are costs to close, those closing costs, and then most importantly, they are buying them something about a 5% interest rate. So that takes that $3,500 a month payment and puts it under $3,000, where it's much more comfortable for them. So they're continuing to do well, new home sales for that reason. Overall, sellers are getting about 93% of their original list price when they sell. So, that was closer to like 95% last year. So sellers are finding you come on the market, you're not sold in 30 days, you got to do a little price reduction. Maybe you have to do a second price reduction, then maybe a little bit when you get the offer. But 93% of their original list value, that's not terrible, of the homes that sell. There are homes out there that do not sell. They come off the market as an expired or withdrawn. Sometimes they relist with another agent. I received a lot of calls last week, talking to sellers about possibly being their second agent. In every single one of those conversations, I said, I think your price is too high. We're gonna have to bring that down if you wanna sell this year. So just coming to that reality, it can be hard. Days on market average is continuing to tick up. This is a little bit of a seasonal thing. Just the number of sales is going to kind of be going down with a few little hikes to December. And so it is taking a little bit longer to sell your home. So patience is the key. Selling a home in under 30 days is kind of a rarity. So, let's see, volume and number of sales. So our dollar volume of sales and the number of sales we have are down 8% when we compare it to 2024. Now this number was more like 11% just a couple of months ago. 2025, we really had our spring kind of stolen from us. There was a lot of talk about tariffs around that time. Interest rates were remaining high and people just weren't buying. So we kind of missed a spring this year. So we are catching up on the number and volume of sales in 2025. It's nice to see that number shrinking, but we are 8% lower than we were in 2024 still. Number of pending sales is our great news, okay? Pending sales are up 15% this month when we compare it to the same month in 2024. That's a big number. That's great. That shows the buyers are still there. We had a little dip in our interest rates a couple of weeks ago. They went down to 6.1%, and mortgage applications increased. It's the interest rates, y'all. When interest rates are high, prices stay low, buyers. That's a good time to buy because when those interest rates come down, prices are going to go up. It's just a seesaw of that action. Currently, interest rates are right at about 6.5%. I know there's a lot of talk about when they're going to come down. I've been listening to tons of experts and, lenders, and I've decided that you just cannot guess when that's going to happen. It's been years of people putting their predictions out there. Right now, the interest rates are 6.5%. There are lots of things we can do to work around that. There's buy down rate options, new homes that are offering lower interest rates. There are ways to solve that problem. So definitely connect with a great agent who understands the market that you're shopping in, and listen to them. For sellers, this means that you've got to be competitive with your price. I know my house is probably worth $500,000, but let's come out at $590. It's just not working. And then by the time you get to your appropriate price, your market price, you've got 90 days plus on market, and it's just hard to get people to come and look at you at that point. So usually we got to go a little bit lower than if we'd come out right where it was suggested. Even when you do come out right where it's suggested, you may need to do a couple of little price reductions just to stay relevant, to stay at the top of the marketing, and have patience. Sellers, selling a home in 30 days is pretty rare. Buyers, yes, interest rates are at about 6.5%, but there are workarounds for that, and there is so much to choose from. In 2020, there might have been 2 houses in a neighborhood that were on the market, and each one got 15 offers. That was a very difficult market to compete in. This is your market, buyers. You hold the cards. You can make offers, you can get creative, and if that doesn't work out, there's 12 other houses that we can go and talk to and see, if we can make you a deal. So that's great about being a buyer in this market. Those interest rates eventually will come down, but it's really great when you're a homeowner and then you're settled in that home, you're building your equity, and those rates come down and you make it more affordable. All right, y'all, that is your market update for July 2025. As always, I love talking about this real estate stuff. Real estate is hyper local, so if you'd like to talk about a specific property, please reach out, give me a call. I'm happy to do some research, talk to you about what your goals are, and help you make a plan that'll get you on your way. Y'all have a great rest of your week, and I hope to talk to you soon.